Swazdo Lasara. I am Seraphis, the procrastinating space pirate, and in this video I will be discussing the trials and tribulations of survival in a world after the apocalypse. And no, I am not talking about the one I come from in a billion years. I mean something theoretically closer in the immediate future. Because this is a review of the currently latest genre whitebook release from Monte Cook Games, Rust&Redemption, the whitebook of the post-apocalyptic genre. So, let's dive in, shall we? In the introduction, titled Inspired by the Apocalypse, Bruce R. Cordell tells us about his history with Gamma World and his long history of playing Fallout. Most recently, Fallout 76, which inspired him greatly in the things he wanted to add into the whitebook. An amusing sidebar here is that he points out that MCG's own Sean K. Reynolds was a lead writer on Interplay's Fallout 3, the project commonly known to fans as Van Buren, before Bethesda bought the IP from the defunct Interplay. Of note here is that the story in Van Buren is not the same story as Bethesda's Fallout 3. For a closer design to the Van Buren story, that would be Obsidian's Fallout New Vegas, but still not exact. As a side note, I absolutely love the layout and set function of design for this whitebook. It doesn't clutter the sections with GM and player devices anymore. Instead, it really clearly defines what parts are for who. Part 1 is for the GM, Part 2 is for the players, Part 3 is the setting and the information and facts to learn about it, and Part 4 is the setting, adventures, and Cypher shorts for post-apocalyptic adventures. Honestly, 10 out of 10 for this. MCG, I hope all books will be like this going forward. Anyway, let's get reviewing. Part 1, Post-Apocalyptic World Building, sets our first 8 chapters for the GM in designing and building the world they want, and the things to keep in mind for the players to enjoy. Honestly, there is so much great stuff in here, even if you're not running a post-apocalyptic Cypher game. Between crafting rules, salvaging tables, hazard tables, and GM intrusions. Oh, and those tables? Yeah, fucking detailed. Like the consumables one, right? They actually went through and put the health safety standards for how long consumables would last. Every item listed has a shelf life number from days to decades, as well as brief descriptions of how to tell early signs of contamination. Basically, if it's gone off. I know I would usually dive chapter by chapter, but I don't really feel the need this time, as the book's format allows for a much easier examination of sections. But yeah, without a doubt, I love these tables. They're probably my favourite tables from any white book. I will say the optional rules for the Apocalypse section is without a doubt my favourite. Aside from listing each in a small table underneath, it gives the following optional rules: exposure, starvation, and dehydration, radiation in the real world, scavenging, repairing, and building, equipment maintenance, Iron Man, fragility, advanced and alien tech, and incredible mutations. Honest to the progenitor dragons, I can't see a reason I wouldn't be using any of these rules in all my Cypher games, even if just implemented more lightly. But yeah, I fucking love this section. As that's all I gotta say, I'm jumping to part 2. Part 2, Post-Apocalyptic Player Characters, or as I like to call it, what makes you special? This is for the players, and boy is it a doozy. Players get 4 standard descriptors, 4 new species descriptors, and 5 new foci. As the CSR already gave advice on flavouring types, they didn't put any of that in here. We also go into the players' stuff like ammo and gear, but it also talks about currency, and this is where I need to point out the sidebar here, because it mentions something that seems to be based on the Bethesda bullshit law, or non-explained law, bottle caps as currency. Bottle caps as a currency was invented because the traders at the hub could use a bottle cap as a metric of trade. They backed it up with fresh drinking water, and because the bottle cap manufacturing processes were lost, it kept the bottle cap from inflation, as there were only a limited number of bottle caps in the world. They were also safe from counterfeiting for the aforementioned inability to reproduce them. It's not that the currency exists is silly, it's that it seems silly until you realize just how valuable a drop of fresh, safe water or soda can be, and when you have nothing. Sorry for the tangent, but the Bethesda lore misconception is just irritating, and it literally takes 5 minutes to look on the Fallout wiki to read up on why bottle caps. Seriously, just Google Fallout wiki bottle caps, look at the background info. Let's jump to part 3, shall we? Part 3, Post-Apocalyptic Setting, Radio Quiet, is our presented setting in the Whitebook, and it's got some interesting ideas behind it. Set in an alternate timeline, what if the Y2K bug hadn't been resolved, and instead became something truly terrible? As per usual, I won't talk much about this section, as these settings aren't the reason why I buy these books, but I recommend any genre junkies who want to contemplate a different post-apocalyptic scenario or setting. Part 4, Post-Apocalyptic Adventures, gives us 3 adventures for the Radio Quiet setting, and 2 post-apocalyptic Cypher shorts that can be used in any game, or for a fun one-shot. I'll quickly describe the synopsis of the adventures. Chapter 16, No Quick Fix, is set 20 years after the apocalypse, and sees the adventurers go to help clean out a farmhouse, only to discover zombies being experimented on, and a signal that could save the world. Chapter 17, Bitter Seeds, sees the adventurers set out to find a seed vault where they can gain untampered seeds to recover from a devastation that hit their community's crops. While radiation, raiders, and rogue AI pose a threat, the biggest threat presents itself to the party from within. Chapter 18, Safe Zone, does something completely unexpected. The players play the apocalypse itself. A clear autumn evening turns as the world ends. Honestly, pretty cool. If I had a complaint about these, it's that I would have put Safe Zone first, No Quick Fix second, and Bitter Seeds third, as that seems like a logical story progression within the setting. Anyway. Cypher Short Approaching Storm's premise is that the adventurers are salvaging a neighborhood when a radioactive storm rolls in. They can survive within the neighborhood, but it holds its own dangers. Cypher Short Human Longevity Institute sees the players play a group of independently operating AI on a network, who are trying to preserve the human samples from before the apocalypse, but mishaps keep happening, and there may be something or someone outside their facility. Indices features setting NPC index and general index, and it's what's written on the packaging. So, that brings us to the end of this review. With the recent Fallout TV show, which in my opinion was so fucking amazing, I'm planning on doing a dive into it at some point as an offhand chat, but yeah, with the reception of the Fallout TV show, Bruce's clear inspiration, and Sean's direct ties to Fallout, yep. If you want to play Fallout with all the narrative and survival aspects of the franchise, not to mention some of the more light-hearted and random paranormal aspects, then grab yourself the Cypher System rulebook, the Red Book, and Rust&Redemption. It's the best experience you'll have outside of playing Fallout 1, Fallout 2, and Fallout New Vegas. What? 3, 4, and 76 not being mentioned? Yeah, well, tell Bethesda to fix their shit on every level. And that mobile app doesn't deserve mentioning its name. If anything, if you want official, more robust crafting system or survival mechanics in your Cypher game, then this Whitebook is also a necessity. Otherwise, like all Whitebooks, it's up to what you need in your Cypher game. Well, thanks for joining me on this review, Sarah. With the Fallout TV show having come out recently, it's great timing for this review. Plus, I can add Fallout to the tags, and I may sneak in a bunch of unsuspecting viewers. Anyway, as this brings me to the last of the current core Cypher System books, I don't have my bestiary yet. So what I'll be reviewing next week is as big a mystery to me as it is to you. Haha! Till next our paths cross, Sarah, may all your journeys not be towards a mushroom cloud. Nexus and transmission.
He totally just ripped off Game Master's sign-off.
I bet he thought we wouldn't notice. But we did.